You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Coming up, the GRDA searches for a missing man.
We've got severe thunderstorm risk threats throughout the 4 states. We're going to have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, vets seeking therapy have a new option. All that and more coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Bronte Sorotsky. Missouri State Highway Patrol says a boat capsized on Lake of the Ozarks around 6 Sunday evening. Officials say the boat was traveling too fast for conditions, which caused it to capsize. The 3 people on the boat were ejected. 41-year-old Derek Grigsby of Sand Springs and a 13-year-old girl were transported to a hospital for moderate injuries. The 13-year-old boy had minor injuries but refused treatment. Authorities have discovered a man's body in Elk River. Officials responded to reports Sunday evening of a man missing on Elk River south of Ginger Blue, near Mount Shira Access. 40-year-old Matthew Frazier was discovered this morning unresponsive. Frazier was pronounced dead shortly after. He was not wearing a life vest. The Grand River Dam Authority police are searching for a missing boater. Officials say they're searching for a large area of Grand Lake for 48-year-old Troy Young of Bixby. GRDA police say they were notified Young was missing around 8 Saturday morning and that Young was last seen around 10:30 Friday night. Officers recovered Young's boat near the entrance of Ketchum Cove, about 1.5 miles from Cedar Port. Authorities are asking any boaters in the area to be mindful of the search efforts, and anyone with information is asked to call the GRDA police. Pittsburgh State University honored veterans and their families with a virtual Memorial Day ceremony. The ceremony featured traditional elements, including recordings of a color guard comprised of cadets from PSU's ROTC program and recordings of the playing of taps and singing of the national anthem by PSU music students. The ceremony featured recorded remarks by Kirby Brown, a current dean of Park University's College of Management and a 40-year-old veteran of military and federal service.
It is to honor the over 1 million of our citizens who have given their life in service to our country. As we think about that ultimate sacrifice, I have found that Memorial Day is a very personal day for me also.
You can view the entire ceremony at any time at pittstate.tv. Neighborhood Lifehouse in Joplin kicked off summer with their 2nd annual Summer Sizzle Block Party. Burgers and hot dogs were provided, but it was also encouraged to bring your own food and drinks to share. A 50-50 raffle was also held to go with music and games.
So we call it Summer Sizzle. It's our 2nd time to do this in the North Heights neighborhood, and it's just our groups getting people together from the neighborhood to have a party.
There were kids' activities as well, and to cap off the day, they had an epic water balloon war. Neighborhood Lifehouse is a faith-based organization that provides after-school programs and community outreach. Archaeologists in Egypt are unveiling a treasure trove of newly discovered ancient artifacts, including dozens of cat figurines and a number of well-preserved mummies. Take a look. So for the first time, Egypt's Ministry of Tourism and Antiques put the artifacts on display Monday. Items include 250 colored wooden sarcophagi with well-preserved mummies and 150 statues of various gods, including Anubis and Nefertem. There were also a number of bronze pots believed to have been used during prayer rituals for the goddesses of fertility, Isis. The items were discovered about 18 miles south of Cairo and are now on display to the public in the Saqqara era of Giza.
Pretty amazing right there.
Yeah.
Look at the intricacy of it.
I know. It looks like, judging by the person's hand, it's so tiny, and then all the designs. I mean,
it's amazing.
Yeah, and the way that it's just been able to be preserved for so long.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm how is that the craftsmanship of it and the fact that it is that it's that old is what I'm just going to call it what it is. Yeah. and then it lasted like that. That is truly amazing right there.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy going to museums and seeing exhibits and things of that nature?
Honestly, yes. I went to the Crystal Bridges in Arkansas a few months ago, and that was a pretty cool experience. I know that's like a more arts museum, but that one's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What was that?
No, that takes me back to my days with the Wise One. We used to run down there quite a bit. Current conditions over 7th and Rangeline right now as the rain hangs off to our northwest, sitting at 75 degrees. Still windy outside, gusting at 29 miles per hour at Joplin Regional Airport. Here's a look at the Skywatch storm tracker. The thunderstorm activity beginning to sink down on us. We did have the line that went from Wichita up to KC, kind of kept us out of the fray. That is no longer part of the mix because it's now in our counties. And we've already seen pretty heavy rain in that Burlington, Garnett area, Iola, Chanute, Mountain City. That's what's going to sink down upon it next. And that thing's packing lightning. It is also packing hail. Give you an idea of the storm reports that we already have coming out from earlier this morning. This one from that's from last night. We have some from this morning. And some pictures of it as well. We're talking all those from last night. And I'm looking for one this morning because I've got a picture of baseball-sized hail that fell in Jackson County. And that, like I said, this is nothing that we're going to fool around with because it's not only the heavy rain, but if it's going to throw down like this, we know it's going to have high wind as well. We're starting to see places like Yates Center and Iola, the temperature dropping, even though we're past sunrise as the cold front will slowly sink down upon us, follow the jet stream right through there and work down to the southeast to the point where we are going to find ourselves on the severe thunderstorm risk map in the low category what's going to be indicated in yellow, but also too, we're going to even see the elevated category. And what that will be is working in from the southwest as the cold front drops in, not at the heavy rain, but it's going to be the wind and the hail that are distinct possibilities all the way through tonight into tomorrow morning. You have to remember, those flood watches extend all the way into Wednesday morning. Cooler temperatures throughout our afternoons. Our nighttime lows, not extremely off, but just one of those things where we're not going to rebound and back into the 80s until we get to the weekend.
Right, and those lows over the weekend are a big change from our lows, the rest of the week.
You're right. It's going to be about a quick 10-15 degree drop when it rolls through.
Oh, wow. All right, thanks, Michael. So up next, the FDA warns people not to store their avocados in water. And later, Old Mining Town Days is back. Stick with us and we'll have Steve Burnett and Sarah James with the Old Mining Town Days Committee tell us more about it. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, a major study out of the United Kingdom warning problems with heart health will be with us for years to come because of the disruption to services during the COVID pandemic. Researchers say cardiac disease will likely worsen unless mitigation strategies are quickly implemented. They say the issues were exacerbated in low to middle income countries. The study saying during COVID, heart patients were sometimes not given what they would call gold standard treatment, receiving drugs instead of interventional procedures. Research from New York's Mount Sinai Health System finding acute stress may be detrimental in fighting off COVID-19 as well as the flu. Studies showed an increased risk of dying mice. It found stress diminished an immune response, making the body less resistant to fighting the infection and increasing the risk of complications as well as death. And the FDA has a warning about the dangerous TikTok trend involving avocados. I can't make this up. TikTok users are storing already cut avocados in water to keep them from going brown. Bronte and I talked about this. Don't do this. This is why people have saran wrap and Tupperware. The FDA says keeping this method is risky as it opens a gateway for bacterial contamination. The agency and doctors urging people to store avocados on a dry surface, AKA, that's why I call it saran wrap and Tupperware, FDA says bacteria like Salmonella can be on the avocado surface and can expand if stored in water. Things you might look out for: fever, nausea, and diarrhea. People are so passionate about potatoes, they're actually celebrating National Potato Day. This is in Peru. Peruvian folk dancers dressed in traditional outfits performing inside a wholesale market in honor of the beloved crop. Revelers could choose from among an assortment of dishes featuring different varieties. One potato merchant quoted as saying, "Countless dishes are made from potatoes, so with a potato, nobody will die of hunger." Birthplace of the domesticated potato is high in the Andes. First grown there about 7,000 years ago. And now you have more than 4,000 varieties of potatoes that are cultivated in Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador. How about that? Tim was going to hold off on me there. He was going to write out that video for me. I appreciate that. Let's take a live look over 7th and Range Line. Get to our current conditions as we sit at 75 degrees. Still have that good south wind gusting up to 30 miles per hour right now at Joplin Regional Airport. And I tell you what, we got some big changes on the horizon because that cold front, it's slow, but it's pushing in and it's moving in from the northwest. If we were to put on the lightning tracker, look at that band that we have right now. Just about to make it through the Chanute, Iola, Mound City area. One of those things, the farther north that you are watching us right now, do not leave home without your umbrella, either today or all throughout tomorrow as well. We're starting to see the temperatures drop up to the northwest. Yates Center down to 20 or 72 degrees, and that's about a 5-degree drop that we've experienced in the last 20 minutes alone. It's going to be slowly but surely, everybody else is going to fall down on the thermometer as well. Down to the southeast, still going to be able to make it up, say 85, 86 degrees before we back off on that. More importantly, let's talk about our thunderstorm activity. Excuse me, it will develop for the afternoon and evening hours as it rolls through. Not only high winds, we also have the possibility of golf ball-sized hail to go along with this. It's been a while to say that we find ourselves in the severe thunderstorm threat category that involves hail, but a distinct possibility for this afternoon into the evening hours. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today in studio, we're going to be talking about Old Mining Town Days that's held in Granby, and we have Steve Burnett and Sarah James. Thank you guys so much for coming in this morning.
Oh, our pleasure to be here.
Yes, so one thing, we're really excited to talk about this event, and this is coming up, this is starting June 3rd, right?
Correct.
So can you give us, a brief overview? What is this event that's going on?
Well, we're trying to honor miners. You can see I'm wearing a miner's helmet here, and this one actually belonged to Hawkshaw Farmer. Doug Farmer owns JJ's Restaurant in Granby, and this was his dad's. Now, all the miners have died, but the purpose of Old Mining Town Days is to really honor those miners. So we're extending an invitation to any family members of miners in the tri-state region to come. But Sarah, why don't you talk about some of the events?
Well, there's so much going on. I'll see if I can just try to hit a few of the things. So we have a carnival that will be in town from that Friday night through Sunday. Saturday is just packed with events. We have a 5K, a car show along Main Street that will stretch the whole way, which anybody is welcome to bring their car into that. We have an outdoor market that will have over 50 vendors, artisans, boutiques, all kinds of great shopping going on.
I'm excited about, we've got the Civil War cannon coming from the
Yes.
Wilson Creek National Battlefield to shoot 5 different times. We've got a blacksmith coming, we've got some other craftsmen coming, so it's really exciting. We moved the date up. It normally was held the 4th of July, but we moved it up to the 4th of June just so we could get some other people to come that normally would be busy with their own 4th of July thing. So we're inviting the fire departments from all over the area to come. We're inviting the veterans to come, the VFW members to come, the Shriners to come. We'd like all these folks to participate. We need more horses, more cars for our parade. We've got a car show that's going on down on Main Street. So we're pretty excited about having it a little bit earlier, hoping that it'll bring more people. And Sarah and a good friend of hers, Jamie Arnold, have really revitalized the downtown in Granby. And they've got, if you like chic boutique, they've got boutique shops there all over, and they've really done some neat things to try and bring business back to our town. And And we're hoping Old Mining Town Days is just another one of those things that will help bring people to Granby.
Definitely. And there's one big thing I did want to ask. I know you guys are doing something a little different this year. Can you tell me about what that is, what changes people might see this year?
Well, I know that we have a little bit of everything for everyone, I feel like. You know, we have stuff for the kids, which we didn't really even hit on that. We have a petting zoo for the children in the morning. We have the carnival rides, and then you've got sand volleyball tournament, a cornhole tournament, and then fireworks on Sunday night, mixed in with live music over both the days.
I think people don't realize how important mining was to this entire tri-state region. Granby was where it started, and for example, by 1893, over $6 million worth of ore had been mined from Granby. That equates to over $200 million today. It was an economic engine for the area, and so people they've forgotten about that because it's been so long since we've been doing the mining. So Old Mining Town Days is to remind them, you know, come to Granby, let us celebrate those miners.
Definitely. So, you know, going from that, talking about, you know, people will learn more about Granby's history, more about the town, and, you know, what are you hoping people take away from this when they leave Granby? Maybe if someone has never been to Granby before and they come to this event, what are you hoping that they take away from the experience?
Well, I was born in Granby, grew up in Granby, and I hope they take away from it, it's a great place to live. And we're encouraging people, come live in Granby, come see Granby, enjoy what the small towns in this area have to offer. And so I hope that they'll walk away understanding a little bit more about the history of the area. We have a mining museum, and we'd like to have them to come see. We got a brand new book out, which was done by our curator there, who's been with the museum a long time. It's called Granby, a Once Upon a Time Mining Town, and it talks about that heritage. So come see us at the museum. Come enjoy all the shops that we have there and all the vendors and all the activities that we have going on. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Definitely, and I see you guys have brought some things with
you
this
too. This is what it was all about. This is one of the rocks that the lead was in, that they millions of pounds. You know, little things that people don't even know. Civil War. Everybody knows about the Civil War. First 2 years of the Civil War, 200,000 pounds of lead a month went to the Union forces to fight the Civil War, and guess where that came from? Granby.
Wow.
And Granby ballooned in the 1850s, the late 1850s, up to 8,000 people because of that big surge of miners coming in to work. The largest smelter west of the Mississippi was built in Granby in 1857 by Henry Blow. People don't know that. It's an exciting area.
That is super exciting, and people are going to learn more about this at this event. Thank you both so much for joining us in the studio. And
come to Old Mining Town Days.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be right back after this.
We take this time to honor this morning's four-state hero. Ronald Parsons, a native of Pittsburgh, served during the war in 1958 and 1973, a member of the U.S. Navy. To Ronald Parsons, we salute you, this morning's four-state hero. Military veterans battling PTS, taking it one stride at a time with a lot of help from an unlikely source. Madison Scarpino is on a ranch in Casper, Wyoming, with more on how horse therapy is helping our veterans.
Being exposed to some of the trauma our troops experience can inevitably cause mental health problems, some minor, some severe. Here in Wyoming, there's a program that pairs up veterans and first responders with wild Mustangs. The Mustangs actually have PTSD and anxiety themselves, so it's healing for both the horse and the human.
When you are in a 24-foot by 24-foot pen, you really can't think of stuff that is outside of those railings.
Kelly Alexander and his wife Karen were inspired to start Operation Remount based on his personal experiences. Kelly served for over 20 years in Iraq and Afghanistan and has struggled with his mental health after retirement. From 2006 to 2021, the Department of Veterans Affairs saw that mental health needs increased about 98%. Kelly eventually found a program where he was matched up with a wild horse. Karen says it changed his world.
Working with the horses has brought him a new sense of purpose and has also provided him with some peace. So he wanted to provide this for others.
Seeing how it affects others in a positive manner is probably even better than when I felt that from my own personal experience.
Now, the program helps people like Army veteran Alicia Allen, who trained Afghan Army members to be medics.
Some of the things that I came across, seen, or had to encounter gave me severe anxiety, nightmares, depression. I had a hard time coming back and dealing with civilian life.
Same for former Air Force medic Audra Smith.
I wanted to come out here so I could keep working on myself and keep working on those anxieties and the mindfulness and all of that stuff.
The trust built between the human and the horse allows veterans to slow down and be in the moment.
They were pulled from their homes, just like veterans, when we leave the service, we're pulled from our herd, from our family. And so to be able to come here, they are kind of our herd again. They're our family. So
Operation Remount allows the veteran or first responder to keep the wild Mustang after the 6-week program is complete. The Alexanders hope to have up to 8 veterans or first responders on the ranch next year. In Casper, Wyoming, Madison Scarpino, Fox News.
Want to update our Skywatch storm tracker because right now we are looking at 2 inches of rain that's already fallen in the northwest quadrant of the 4 states. So once again, that's why we're going to roll these flood watches all the way until tomorrow morning. As the thunderstorm activity increases, there's a live look at I-35 southbound that is right before Santa Fe up by the Kansas City area and give you an idea of what is headed our way as this cold front will continually drop to the southeast for the rest of the day. We'll be back with more KOAM morning news on Fox 14 right after this.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:30. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Ceremonies across the 4 states honored heroes on Memorial Day. As Jalen Banks reports, one ceremony was open to anyone to honor men and women who fought for our nation's freedom.
Solemn ceremonies like this one at Miami's GAR Cemetery are part of a long-standing American tradition. Memorial Day became an official federal holiday in 1971, but you can trace its origins all the way back to shortly thereafter the Civil War, where people have taken it upon themselves to honor our fallen soldiers. After years of war and 600,000 deaths later, in 1866, women in Columbus, Mississippi, laid flowers on the graves of both Union and Confederate soldiers. This, and many other practices like it, will lead to the holiday that we observe today. Eldon Johnston, a Navy veteran, speaks on what this day means to him and the community.
We come out and do this every year. It's just an honor to honor the fallen veterans, and it's just good to see the crowd turn out. As far as patriotism, this area is about as good as you can get.
The GAR Cemetery held a Memorial Day ceremony, giving community members a chance to honor and pay respects to those who gave their lives serving our country. The ceremony featured an honor guard, fire volleys, the playing of taps, and words from veterans.
The people out here that have fallen, you just can't honor them enough. I mean, they gave their life for our freedom. It's just, all you can say is just an honor.
At the GAR Cemetery in Miami, Oklahoma, honoring those that gave their lives to defend this country. Jalen Banks, KOAM News.
Each branch of the military was represented at the ceremony. Well, it's time for summer baseball at Joe Becker Stadium. The Joplin Outlaws open up their season at home on Thursday. Monday was the first time the team all met together, and there's a few big changes this year. Pitt State assistant Gonzalo Gonzalez takes over as head coach of the Outlaws. Recent PSU grads Austin Bonnell and Caleb Card joined Gonzalez on the coaching staff. As for the roster, it's made up of talent from across all the country, including a handful of local athletes.
It's a big honor to be able to come out here and play in my hometown, have the people that supported me through high school come out and watch me again. It should be a good time, and I'm glad to be here.
At the end of the day, it's about these guys coming here, developing and getting better, and hopefully winning some baseball games in the process. So for me, it's just keeping things loose, having these guys have some fun, and everybody knows that if you're able to play loose and play in a little bit more of a fun atmosphere, you get a better player in the end.
Well, they're some of America's favorite cookies, and now they have their very own makeup line. The Girl Scouts partnered with beauty brand Hip Dot for the limited edition Hip Dot X Girl Scouts makeup collection. Features 2 scented eyeshadow palettes and 3 lipsticks. Or you can get the collector's kit, which includes the whole line plus 2 custom designed eyeshadow brushes. According to the Girl Scouts website, the creators took every shade and type of skin into consideration. They also say the makeup line is cruelty-free and vegan.
I mean, if you're not going to get the collectors, like, what are you doing?
This is true. I mean, okay, I did really like that they say they took every shape, every person's like complexion into consideration when making this. I think that's pretty cool, and that it's vegan and cruelty free. I mean, I
know. I'm just happy I got my fake eyelashes from them.
Okay.
I don't know what I'd do if I didn't have those.
I honestly think this is pretty cool, and I like that it's you know, kind of like look at that one. It's kind of like based on the box colors.
Oh no, those are my favorite cookies.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
All I was
Yeah.
like, oh no.
So maybe you can just get one based on what your favorite Girl Scout cookie is.
Right. When the coconut and the chocolate comes out, Hayslip is on board.
Those ones are
tell you
pretty
what's
good.
also on board. Let's call it a segue. That was a terrible segue on my part. Here we go. Thunderstorm activity ranging up to the northwest, and what we're looking at right now, we've seen 2 inches of accumulation up in the Garnett area, and that's why we've got these flood watches. Also, too, I want to point out the amount of lightning that this is throwing down right along that dividing line with the cold front. Also, too, if we put on the storm tracks, just kind of give us a cheater as far as where everything is headed. One thing I do want to point out, look at the amount of rain that's coming out of this. We're talking about a flooding impact that's close to 4 on a scale of 1 to 10. We can kind of get into the middle of that right there, 2.74 inches per hour. Now, granted, and here's the bad part about it. It's slow moving. And so this is going to inundate the northwest portion of the 4 states for the rest of the morning. That is why we have the flood watches extended all the way into tomorrow morning. Now, our temperatures right now, we're going to see everything settle up to the northwest into the low 70s. Everybody else mid to high 70s, eventually topping out in the 80s. But remember, this afternoon into this evening is when the threat gets severe for the rest of the 4 states. We're going to roll high wind. We're also going to roll probably pea to golf ball sized hail. This is becoming more of a distinct possibility here as we progress through the morning. We'll be back with more KOAM morning news on Fox 14 right after this.
Cool. Welcome back to the KOAM morning news on Fox 14. We're back here in studio with Steve Vermette and Sarah James talking about old mining days that's being held in Granby. So thank you both so much for coming on.
Hey, we're glad to be here. You know, I'm wearing Hawkshaw Farmers.
I was going to say, you put the hat on this time.
And it is uncomfortable. These guys were brutes that worked in these mines. They were so strong, and it was such hard work. And of course, this is what they use for lighting, these carbide lights down there. I want to talk a little bit about the parade because we're really wanting people to come to the parade. Now, for our parade, you don't have to send in a form. It's free to come. So we're wanting people from all over the area to come. And in particular, this year, we're really reaching out to those families of miners. Old Mining Town Days is about honoring the miners. And this year, we're asking people to march the parade. You don't have to dress up. If you want to dress up as a miner and bring a pick or bring a shovel, that's cool. You want to bring a picture of your loved one who was a miner, bring that. But this tri-state region was built on mining. It was big money. Just Granby alone, by the late 1800s, $6 million worth of lead had been moved out and sold all over the United States. That equates to $200 million today. So it was a really big deal. So Old Mining Town Day, Sarah can talk just a little bit about some of the stuff going on.
Yeah, sure. So if you come on Saturday, you can catch the 5K if you're there super early.
Right, so it starts at 7 a.m.
It says. Then they will have a pancake feed. There's going to be a big car show all along Main Street. And I tell you, it's something to see when you stand on Main Street in Granby and you look up and you see old cars just at each spot.
Very cool.
We have an outdoor market that has over 50 vendors, just lots of neat small businesses that will be part of that. Gosh, and then over at the museum, you guys have a blacksmith, right?
We've got some singers going to be there. We've got a blacksmith coming in. We've got some wood carvers coming in. The Harmony Trio is going to be there and singing. And we also have Dick Keyser on the piano playing. Dick's been around for a long time. He's a Navy veteran. So we're excited about all the new stuff. The cannons coming in from the Wilson Creek
we
Battlefield.
Talk about the cannon.
And they're I don't know about most of you, but I love that kind of stuff. And it's an authentic cannon that they're going to bring in, and they're going to fire it 5 times.
I can't wait to hear that boom.
Yeah, they'll talk to us about what's required and how they actually fired them in the Civil War.
That is super cool.
So speaking of the Civil War, the mine in Granby, 200,000 pounds of lead a month provided to the Union for the first couple of years of the Civil War. Most people don't realize that. Granby was very, very important and an economic engine for this entire region. Bigger than Joplin. In 1858, Granby had a population of about 8,000 people with that big stampede because of the mining. Now, granted, the town at that time consisted of wood cabins and tents and shacks, but it was a really big deal. So old mining town days, it's here to honor that. You're seeing a picture of downtown. Sarah's very involved in trying to save that first building there on the left, which is the old hardware store. And so one of the things that they're doing is trying to help save that.
Yeah, we'll actually be selling sodas and water that day. So when you're walking down Main Street and you need a cold drink, we'll be selling those, and it will actually benefit saving that old hardware store.
And how many people are expected to be in attendance?
We're hoping thousands.
Yeah.
It typically does have a lot of people come down, and this year we've got more things than ever. We moved it to June the 4th just so we could get additional things like the Wilson Creek Battlefield Cannon and some of the other things that would not normally be available. We want those fire trucks from all over the region to come to honor the firemen. We want the VFWs to come from all over the region to honor the VFW. So we're excited about it. We think it's going to make a difference having it a little bit early. By the way, it'll be a little bit cooler too.
That's true.
Don't forget, we will still be having our fireworks display that we would be having on the 4th of July weekend. We'll be having that on Sunday at Granby. So you can see an early big fireworks display by just coming to Granby for old mining town days.
That is awesome. And just real quick, what does this do for the community, having an event like this that brings out so many people? I mean, what are you hoping to see?
Well, what I think is amazing is Granby has really been coming back to life. New businesses have been coming to town, and we have new murals in town. And what I think that is so wonderful is that those from outside the community will get to be in Granby for the day and start to see all the great things that are happening.
Definitely.
2 things to mention real quick. She's one of the ones that's bringing it back to life in Granby along with Jamie Arnold, but also the city council. The mayor, Ira Hawkins, and all the city council members have been so supportive of what's going on to rejuvenate Granby.
Well, Steve, Sarah, thank you both so much for coming in, talking about Old Mining Days. That's happening this weekend, and we just hope to see you all there. So thank you so much, and we'll be right back after this.
With most COVID-19 restrictions and rules being lifted across Europe, travel there is starting to look a lot like it did pre-pandemic. That means it's time to think about the best way to deal with crowds if you're planning a big trip. Wendy Gillette with some tips as well as a few ways to splurge this summer. She's in Vienna, Austria.
Travel from the U.S. to Europe could soar as much as 600% compared to last year, according to recent data from Allianz Partners.
The exciting thing for me is the energy is back in Europe.
European travel expert Rick Steves just returned from a 45-day research tour of the continent.
It's just going to be busy. For the first time in my career, I've been recommending you need to make reservations for restaurant dinners.
He also advises figuring out which museums require advance reservations, determining when cruise ships will be docked to avoid places when they're crowded with passengers, and visiting secondary cities.
I mean, everybody goes to the first cities, Edinburgh, why not Glasgow? Everybody goes to Paris. Check out Marseille.
If you're dead set on the hot spots and really want to do it up, consider indulging at a Parisian palace. Not an actual palace, but the French designation for an exclusive category of luxury hotels. Hotel Lutetia is the most recent of 12 Paris properties on the list.
So it's better than a 5-star hotel.
The Four Seasons George Cinq made the cut. The brand, which also just opened the San Domenico Palace in Taormina, Italy, in a 14th century convent, has created one of the most famous hotels in the world, thanks to its Michelin-starred restaurants and lavish flower displays.
The flowers that change, every 6-7 weeks. We change the color schemes. We have florists on site too.
You can also stay in a real palace and have the whole place to yourself. It's an option here in Vienna, Austria, at the city's famous Schönbrunn Palace. When the horse-drawn carriages and tourists clear out, you're left inside, staying in an opulent two-bedroom suite with views of the famous gardens.
You can walk around in the park areas all alone, and that is really unique and a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
We got special rates to check out the hotels. This one starts at $900, so you can feel like royalty, at least for a night. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, Vienna.
It just would have been appropriate if we had Lindsey Buckingham in the background singing Holiday Road. Steve says he avoids the most heavily traveled areas of Europe in the summer. Those would include the Mediterranean. He says he prefers to head north. For those of you that have the opportunity to do that, more power to you. We'll be right back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. But first, a look at market prices before the opening bell. The old pie in the face, classic comedy trope. But a man in disguise threw a cake at the world's most famous painting. Jeannie Moose with the full story of the pie to Mona Lisa.
I've covered lots of people, like Ralph Nader, getting a pie in the face. But when the face of the Mona Lisa gets creamed, that's a different story. No way! Take it from two guys who were there in Paris's Louvre Museum.
A lot of people just started gasping and we heard some oohs and ahs.
And this is the guy who admitted creaming the Mona Lisa.
A man dressed as an old lady jump out of his wheelchair.
Faking being handicapped allowed him to get closer to the painting after first pounding on the bulletproof glass that covers the Mona Lisa. He literally pushed a cake on the glass?
Yeah, just straight up just smashed the cake right up on the glass.
Security grabbed the suspect and the cream was quickly wiped away.
Mona Lisa, men have named you.
Celebrated in song, but why? Slapped with cake? Think of the earth. There are people who are destroying the earth, he said in French. Artists tell you, think of the earth. That's why I did this. The museum says the painting was not damaged. There were plenty of online jokes. The Mona Lisa watching as a guy approaches her with a cake. When they were done cleaning her up, the crowd applauded.
Mona Lisa have a pretty smile. I don't know why this guy did that.
But he definitely didn't manage to wipe that smile off her face.
Do you smile to tempt a lover?
Jeannie Moose, CNN, New York.
It kind of irks me, and not to get editorial here, but it just irks me that somebody would do that. I did not know the Mona Lisa was behind glass either. I actually thought it was open face because we were talking about this during the story. One of my favorite paintings that I've seen on display twice in my life is canvas out in the open. I can't fathom anybody doing that. Let's take a look at the Skywatch storm tracker and our radar as the cold front is not budging, but right now we've got a definitive line of rain that is dropping. We've already got 2 inches of accumulation. And so everybody up to the northwest, that is going to end up being flooded, is what it is. If we're sitting at 2 inches right now, you can tell from the flood watches that we have for our counties in green and the amount of lightning that we've picked up as well. Temperature is going to be up into the 80s today, but it's just thunderstorms that are going to last into Wednesday morning. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. Mourners are gathering in Uvalde, Texas for visitations and the first funerals for victims of the elementary school mass shooting that left 19 children and 2 of their teachers dead. Today, 10-year-old Amiri Joe Garza will be laid to rest as this small city tries to work through the pain. This week alone, funerals are planned for 11 children and a teacher. Fire destroyed several luxury cabins at a resort at Starved Rock Park, around 95 miles southwest of Chicago. The fire was so intense that it was visible on satellite images. And in Virginia, jury deliberations resumed today in the Johnny Depp-Amber Heard defamation trial. The case centers on a 2018 op-ed in which Heard described herself as a domestic abuse survivor. The op-ed didn't mention her ex-husband, but Depp says the implication was clear and was based on lies. Heard told the court the article wasn't about Depp, but testified that he actually did abuse her.
Final look at the Skywatch storm tracker as the heavy rain continues up to the northwest. Slow-moving cold front that gives us flood watches. That's why we have the alert day posted on the 7-day forecast. Get ready for thunderstorms all throughout tonight into tomorrow morning.
It's a farewell for a legendary staff member at Loganberry Books in Shaker Heights, Ohio. Otis the cat has been an employee there at the bookstore for 14 years. He first started working there in 2008 and could be seen around the shop almost every day since then. The bookstore held a retirement party for him so they could get one last picture and a goodbye to see him off. And if you miss Otis, that's okay, because another fabulous feline is taking over his little sister Alice. Loganberry Books will be having a fundraiser for the cat lovers of Cleveland to help pay those veterinarian bills.
Thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. If you've ever been to Shaker Heights, you know Otis. I've actually met him. We'll be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.
Over 25